You ever wake up after the weekend and you ask yourself, why am I still grinding it out at work? Now, if you find yourself repeatedly facing this question, it's a strong indication that retirement might be overdue. But how do we know when is the right time to retire? Now, I've worked with many doctors and dentists, helping them along with their finances, and most of them think that working just a few more years is going to solve all their financial concerns. But will it really? What about the health and the time that they're sacrificing? Sooner or later, we all at some point need to call it quits. And if you can answer yes to these questions that we're going to go over today, then it might just be time to retire. Question number one: are you postponing your life? Are you postponing your life? So first off, I want you to consider whether you're delaying the life that you truly want to live. Remember, someday isn't on the calendar. Many people plan to enjoy life once they retire, forgetting that really no day is guaranteed, right? Now, how many times have you heard about somebody who they'll work their entire career and they'll retire, and then shortly after that, they receive some sort of serious health diagnosis like cancer, or even worse, they pass away? I know people like this. I'm sure you do too. And so if you've been putting off dreams of like traveling to a specific country, like going to Italy or going to the Bahamas or Hawaii, spending more time on maybe your hobbies, now might be the time to reevaluate that. So if you've answered yes to postponing your life, let's move on to question number two. Is your health declining? Is your health declining? So I want you to take just a few minutes to assess your health, okay? If you're a dentist like me, you understand just how physically demanding work can be, because we spend hundreds and hundreds of hours a year hunched over a chair in awkward positions, and we're in these positions and it causes us shoulder pain, back pain, neck pain, hand pain. And also other people that, let's say they work on computers all day long, they're in this type of position, and they also may experience these type of ergonomic, types of pains as well. Additionally, stress-related health problems can lead to things like poor sleep, anxiety, and hypertension. So if you're, I really want you to assess your health, because if your health isn't where you really want it to be, when you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror, if it's not really the person you want to be staring back at you, it may be time to consider whether continuing to work is worth it, because it's taking the toll on your body, okay? Number three, can you reduce your working hours? Can you reduce your working hours? Now, if you're an employee, you might find that just a select few companies out there, they'll offer part-time positions, or they'll actually allow you to have some sort of phased out retirement options. Most companies don't, but there are a few out there. Now, for the self-employed like myself, you have to say, is it feasible to start the transition from full-time to part-time? Now, if neither of these options are available to you, you may need to just consider reducing your workload overall, even if it results in less money. So if reducing your hours isn't possible, depending on what situation that you're in, then really retiring sooner rather than later may be the necessary choice. This brings us to question number four. Do you want to spend more time with family and friends? Do you want to spend more time, more quality time with your family and friends? So I want you to think about how much time right now that you're spending with family and friends. Now, if you're a busy professional like a attorney, doctor, dentist, something like that, and your job is demanding, you might often miss family events, or maybe you wish you could spend more time with your loved ones, okay? I don't know about your position. You do. So how many times have you had to say, look back over your career, how many times have you had to say no to family get-togethers or social gatherings with friends because of work? Think about that. Think about how this has made you feel whenever you've actually had to say no. No, I can't go to my daughter's recital or my son's game or whatever. I've got too much work to do. Think about that. How have you felt? Have you ever felt sometimes out of touch with your spouse, out of touch with your children or close friends because you're always working? Maybe you've missed important moments that really could have strengthened relationships, but you didn't go, so you can't get that back. So if your job is getting in the way of these relationships, it might be time to say, hey, self, is it really worth it? Right now in my position, is it really worth it? So retiring, again, might be the right step to make sure that you don't continue to miss out on time with the people who matter most. Moving on to question number 5. What will you do? And this is a big one that whenever I'm coaching doctors and dentists, this is one of the main things that's holding them back is, yeah, Jeff, I'd like to retire or I can retire, but I don't know what I'm going to do after retirement. So think about that. What are you going to do? Do you know what you're going to do after you retire? All right. So I want you to imagine this: a skilled surgeon who spends years in the operating room saving lives, right? Day in and day out, the routine is very familiar to him. He gets up, he goes to work, goes in the operating room, the adrenaline's real high, right? You know, you put the person to sleep. It could be a trauma surgeon, whatever, adrenaline's high, you save the person. And then, you know, this satisfaction of helping patients all over the years is great. It's right. It's immense. But then what happens? Retirement comes. And then he had this daily structure. What happens to it? The daily structure vanishes. The operating room is no longer there. It's no longer buzzing around with urgency. And then suddenly there's a void for this surgeon in his life where before there was a clear purpose. Does that sound familiar? How about the seasoned marathon runner? This guy goes out there training rigorously for the big race, only to find themselves wandering aimlessly once the finish line is crossed. You know, they've done all this training for months and months and months, cross the finish line, it's kind of like, now what? So they've prepared, you know, all of these months, they prepared their body and they prepared their mind for the race, but guess what they haven't prepared for? What comes after the race? So what do they do when there are no more races to run? Now, I understand this can be a real challenge for those who have a demanding career, because if this is you and you spent your entire career focused on one main thing, you know, for me, back when I was just focused mainly on dentistry, that was it. Dentistry, you know, going to work, treating patients, dealing with staff, that was it. And I'm just was surrounded by the constant demands and challenges of working day after day after day. Maybe this is you. So maybe retirement might sound like a relief from all this, but again, also in the back of your mind, it can also leave you wondering, what now? If I retire, you know, what am I going to do? So it's really very, very essential to plan. Not, you know, everybody's talking about the financial aspects of retirement. That it is important to plan for that, but also important to plan for how are you going to spend your time in retirement? Are you going to pursue hobbies that maybe you neglected over your career? Maybe you'll volunteer at your church or your local shelter, or maybe get involved in some community programs. Maybe you'll take that cooking class that you've been putting off, learn a new language, learn how to play a musical instrument, or you know what? I think I'm going to get around and write that book that I've been thinking about. So if you're not sure, then now's the time to take the time to really explore your interests outside of your career, okay? Talk to colleagues who've retired, join clubs, join groups that piqued your interest, and then maybe try out some new activities. So really the goal, and I've been doing this for the last few years, I've been transitioning out into more doing social media, content creation, real estate, all of that kind of stuff. I've slowly started the transition going from 5 days a week to 4 days a week to 3 days a week, and now getting less and less. So this is something that you can think about doing, because the goal is to transition into retirement with a plan that's going to keep you engaged and that's going to keep you, again, connected to others. So you don't want to go and just you're working in your low environment and then all of a sudden you have nothing to do. That's not going to work, okay? So this preparation that we just talked about, it's really going to ensure that when you do retire, you're going to have a clear path to follow, okay? And this path is going to have activities that is, again, it's going to have a new purpose for you. It's going to bring you joy. It's going to bring you satisfaction beyond what you've been used to in your professional life, which leads us to the last question, last but not least, which is pretty much just as important as number 5. What are you going to do after retirement? But just as importantly, do you have enough money to retire? Pretty important, okay? So let's say I want you to imagine you're this experienced attorney who's spent decades handling everything from courtroom trials to drafting contracts. You've made a good living and you've saved very carefully throughout the years. However, as retirement approaches, you need to ask yourself, well, have I saved enough, right? For many people that are high income professionals used to what I call an above average lifestyle, but sometimes the financial matters can be complicated. Making money is one thing, but managing it well to ensure that you continue to have a comfortable retirement, that's a completely another thing. So if you haven't reviewed your financial situation in detail recently, guess what? Now is the best time to do it. Years ago was the better time, but you can't get those time back, right? Now is the best time to do it. And it might be a good idea to talk to a financial planner or somebody that actually specializes in retirement transitions, because they are going to be the ones to help you figure out the best time to start to use your retirement funds, and then how to keep your investments basically safe during retirement. And then also, don't forget about taxes, how to handle those or how to think about those as you're transitioning into retirement. Well, a few of those advisors can, but if you're like me and you prefer to manage your retirement planning yourself, there are tons of resources available. So you can find online tools, there's books, there's workshops, YouTube videos like this. There's all kinds of things to help you to set up a retirement budget, understand your retirement accounts, and plan for healthcare costs, because that's really big too. And after looking over your finances, if you feel pretty confident that you can maintain the lifestyle that you want in retirement, well, it might be time to think about, what are you waiting on? Why not retire now? Okay. So if you've gone through and you've been with me through this video and you've answered yes to these questions, well then guess what? It's time to retire. And if you want to learn more about how I'm actually supplementing my retirement income with passive income, which is the least tax income there is, watch this video.